let's get into, I'm not going to say a deep dive, but I'm going to say a shallow dive. Let's get into a shallow dive of the situation we're in now. This is part of an evolving trend that we've seen, and it's really been exacerbated through this whole COVID-19 situation, fiasco, catastrophe, whatever you want to call it, is we are witnessing a tyranny of experts, right? So if we look way, way back into the past,
back in my days,
with Christianity in the Dark Ages, up until the Renaissance, and I guess really right up until the Enlightenment, let's say, we had a situation where the church was essentially controlled by an elite group of people, right? Of course. These would be the priests, the bishops. I don't know all the Catholic
terms.
I don't know all the Catholic terms, but the Pope and everybody on down, right? Because literacy was so low, not many people could read. So you needed these guys to essentially tell you what was in the Bible or what was in other, important texts, right? So you were dependent on them, and many times they would tell you what they needed to communicate, but not always, right? Not always. They sort of formed a dictatorship through their exclusivity of knowledge. And a lot of times when that happens, when people have knowledge that nobody else has, some people will disperse that knowledge and educate people and bring everybody into the process. Other people, and this is probably more common, they will withhold knowledge. They will exert a kind of tyranny through their own knowledge. And it's my theory, I guess, or my observation, that we were undergoing now a certain tyranny of expertise right now. The experts, we all have to listen to the experts. We're not allowed to have an opinion. And what kind of sparked this off is I was having another debate, I guess you could say, on Facebook. Whenever I get into these kind of confrontations, online confrontations, and I don't mind them, it's almost always on Facebook, right? And I made some observations on what I thought the economic fallout would be. And of course, somebody chirps in and says, well, that's your opinion, but are you an expert? Or he was a little more derogatory than that, but basically he was asking, are you an expert? And I replied to him, I said, well, actually, I have run a business for about 20 years, and I have developed 3 separate businesses from zero to over $1 million in annual sales. So maybe that, and I have an education background as well in business and marketing communications. Does that make me an expert? I don't know, I guess. I mean, there's really is no stamp that says, okay, you are now an expert, right? There's credentials, but you know what? I mean, if you've been doing something for 20 years, if you've been cutting meat for 20 years, it doesn't matter whether you play guitar or not, you're a butcher, right? That's it. You're your profession. Exactly that. But I mean, that doesn't mean that I should be the only one that has opinions on these things, right? You don't have to be an expert in business to know a good business when you see one, right? You may not know all the ins and outs, but you know when the business is closed, you know when your service is bad, you know all these things. It's obvious, right? You don't have to be a chef to know when you've eaten a shitty meal, or a good one for that matter, right? You don't need to have a culinary degree to know when you've had some rotten seafood, right? But I mean, his reply to me was, well, that's fine. Are you an epidemiologist, or do you study virology? I'm like, okay, man. No, I don't. But you know what? I know when I'm sick, right? So let's look at the experts, right? And I mean, before we go too far down the rabbit hole, I do want to make clear that I think people with experience and expertise absolutely should be consulted and should be involved in the process, but they should not be dictating the process, because they may be an expert in one area, but that doesn't mean they're an expert in every area, right? And it also doesn't take into account their motivations. So here's one article that I thought was interesting from another expert. Will coronavirus reverse globalization? Globalization has been one of the buzzwords of the past 25 years, It may seem a rather strange concept, since any economic historian will tell you that people have been trading across vast distances for centuries, if not a millennia. Anyways, he goes on about the history of trade. Yeah, okay, we know people traded with China and India 2,000 years, 1,000 years ago. Okay, man. What is his confusion? What is his conclusion? Let's see if he gets to it ever. Will globalization be reversed? Probably not. It is too important in economic development for that to happen, but it could well be slowed down. Okay. So there you go. After writing paragraph after paragraph, this expert tells us something that's pretty well common sense, right? Like, is the whole global economic system of trade and exchange going to stop? Probably not, but it could be slowed down. Oh, brilliant, man. Okay, thanks. Here is other recommendations from experts. So this is from the CDC. And if you don't know what that stands for, it is the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So I guess technically it should be the CDCP, but it's just the CDC. Recommendation regarding the use of cloth face coverings, especially in areas of significant community-based transmission. When did this come out? What is the date? You guys hiding the date? Are you hiding the date? I don't know if they are. Anyways, though, CDC continues to study the spread and effects of the novel coronavirus across the United States. We now know from recent studies that a significant portion of individuals with coronavirus lack symptoms, and that even those who eventually develop symptoms can transmit the virus to others before showing symptoms. This means that the virus can spread between people interacting in close proximity. In light of this new evidence, CDC recommends wearing cloth face coverings in public settings where other social distancing measures are difficult to maintain. Okay, grocery stores, etc. So now they are recommending you should wear cloth face coverings. Okay, these are the experts. They've looked at the information just like the rest of us, right? And the rest of us kind of didn't need to really be shown this twice. But anyways, those of you who may remember, initially they said that, no, you don't have to wear cloth face coverings. It doesn't do any good at all, right? It's useless. But fortunately, a lot of people were skeptical and said, yeah, I'm going to take my chances that a cloth might actually prevent me from inhaling or breathing or touching my mouth or nose after it's become infected with an infected surface, right? Or in contact with an infected surface. Oh, that's good. It's okay. No coronavirus. No coronavirus. The drink was just a little.
Nigeria population. Wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's look at a few more recommendations and advice from experts. The people we all listen to, right? Here's the National Post. Who came up with this gem? Sean Jeffords from the Canadian Press. So I guess the National Post just picked it up. So this was back in, what's the date? Boy, these guys always hide the dates on these. February 11th. Okay. So this is 2.5 months ago. Still a lot of discrimination out there. Ministers urge against spreading coronavirus stigma in Toronto's Chinatown. Okay. The virus has killed 1,000 people among the 42,000 confirmed cases in mainland China and infected more than 43,000 people globally. Okay, so this was in February, right? We kind of knew it was a problem back then. It was a problem in Italy, problem in China. The federal health minister and her Ontario counterpart are urging people, federal health minister and her Ontario counterpart. So the biggest province and the federal health minister are people that are experts, right? This is their entire working existence, is maintaining the health of a country, right? But what did they say? They are urging people not to give in to misinformation and stigma surrounding the novel coronavirus, adding that Canada continues to do its part to combat the global health emergency by containing illnesses. But they all came out, Patty Hayju, Christine Elliott, they met on Tuesday in Toronto's Chinatown, along with Mayor John Tory, to address the discrimination and loss of business, they say some in the Chinese Canadian community have felt. A woman wearing a mask walks in the Chinatown district of Toronto, Ontario. So far, 3 patients with no corona. Oh yeah, mask. Back then, they were telling her not to wear a mask, but she didn't listen, thankfully, right? So, what is the problem? Now, obviously, I don't want racism or discrimination, right? I'll say that off the bat. But I also won't run away from the charge of racism or discrimination, because you know what? I veer down the path of logic and basic analysis, right? Now, here we see the problem. These guys have put forth their ideology ahead of their duty, right? Their job is to keep everybody healthy and safe, right? And so they decided to put their ideology of no discrimination, everything is xenophobic, you're racist, inclusive, diversity is our strength, all this shit. They had to push that right out in front. And they were concerned that the discrimination was going to affect the business community in Chinatown. Well, guess what, idiots? Now it's affecting the whole country because of your stupid ideology, right? See, this is the problem, right? This is the problem. Ideology should never get in the way of the public benefit, right? Should never get in the way of the public's health and their safety, right? And it should never get in the way of people's ability to run their livelihood, right? So, I mean, if you're concerned about what's happening in the Chinese community, just say, look, we're looking at this. We're not sure what the level, if you're not sure about something, just say you're not sure about it, right? Say we're not sure about the level of transmission. This area may need to be quarantined, but we will let you know. See, this is why people don't trust them. This is why when they say, oh, you're xenophobic for avoiding these businesses. This is why people say, yeah, shut up, I'll do what I want. And then they completely reverse their position. Now, they had no problem at all standing up and saying, don't stigmatize these people. But now these same experts are out there saying, hey, if you're gathering in a group of more than 2 people, or if you're out walking your dog or walking through a park that's non-essential, you're an idiot. You're going to contribute to a further lockdown. You're a bastard, right? So they got no problem stigmatizing those people, right? Those people. And then they say they want everybody to listen to them. Well, why the fuck should we listen to you? You're always wrong. And if you're not wrong, it's because you're putting your ideology ahead of whatever common sense judgment you should be making. Okay, rant over. Let's go and look at more of the expert opinion. All right, so now we go to the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization. So what's your job? Our job is to manage the health of the entire world. Okay, you're on it, right? You're the experts. We'll listen to your recommendations. So anyways, the World Health Organization, they met, when did they meet on this? I'm pulling stuff from the past to show you. Okay, January 30th. Now, I already knew of the COVID-19 in January because I heard about it when I was coming back from Cuba, which was on January 25th or 6th. 25th. 24th was my birthday, Ivan. Yeah. All right, so they had a meeting, emergency meeting, okay? So they had an emergency committee convened by the WHO, and they met specifically on the coronavirus, reviewing the cases, reviewing the situation, and deciding what should be done. Now, first of all, listen to this. This is from the WHO. The committee welcomed the leadership and political commitment of the very highest levels of Chinese government. Their commitment to transparency, So we have determined that China lied, right? We all know this. We all know they lied about the number of people that died, right? Okay, I know you call me racist. Okay, I'll be the racist that lives though, all right? But we know they lied. And we know it's the Chinese government. Like, forget about the Chinese people. I mean, they're caught up in this shit just as much as the rest of us, right? So, but the WHO praises their commitment to transparency. and the efforts made to investigate and contain the current outbreak. Well, I do say that they made an effort to contain the current outbreak. I mean, when you're welding people into the building, that's a form of containment for sure. However, they did let millions of people fly and leave Wuhan, right, and travel the world.
In 2 weeks.
They quickly identified the virus and shared its sequence so that other countries could diagnose it. The very strong measures. Okay, so it's all just a giant ass kiss for China. Let's say that. I was going to use another word, but I don't want to offend Ivan. So, and part of the recommendation of the committee does not recommend any travel or trade restriction based on the current information available. Well, that current information is about the same information that we have now, right? And they didn't recommend any travel or trade restriction. So you see, once again, the experts were completely wrong. Like they could have said, we would recommend some travel restrictions from affected places. That would have been a pretty straightforward, honest answer, right? They are experts after all. But we all know, I think, that the reason they didn't want any trade restriction is because they're getting greased, right? They're getting donations. They're getting something from China. I think that's fairly obvious. And China, who exports products to the entire world, does not want any trade restrictions or any travel restrictions, right? So I think we see what's going on here. But remember that, okay? Experts again, right? So you see, we have two major organizations, right? We have the Center for Disease Control, completely changed their opinion on whether or not people should wear cloth masks. They had one opinion. Now, within a couple months, they've got the complete opposite opinion. Okay. We've had the World Health Organization praise China's transparency. You know what transparency means? That means everything is clearly visible. China, just so you know, has not let anybody else come in to investigate or to see where this virus came from. Nobody's been allowed in. They admittedly did not have the right death total. That's been revised upwards about 50%, probably because they just realized that the original number they gave was so ridiculous. But the WHO has praised them. The WHO also did not recommend any travel restrictions at all. Okay, our experts, right? And we have our own experts, our health minister and Ontario's health minister, all saying, listen, I know we're here to watch the people's health, but we're going to get out and we're going to push our ideology. We're going to push our neoliberal ideology and say the big problem is stigmatizing people, okay? Stop it, you racist bastards. Now get down to Chinatown, lick somebody Chinese, and buy something, goddammit. Okay, guys. All right. Let's see what else we got here, because sadly, there's more. On February 1st, Florence, Italy celebrated Hug a Chinese Day.
What?
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Is that not sexual assault of some kind? Can I just go up to a Chinese woman and just hug her? Is that okay? Could I go up to a Chinese man and hug him? I'll do that. Anyways, so earlier this year, thousands of Chinese immigrants from the city of Wuhan traveled to North Italy for work. And what happened to North Italy? What happened to North Italy? Thousands of Chinese immigrants earlier this year, so in January, well after the virus had started in China, thousands of Chinese immigrants from the city of Wuhan traveled to North Italy for work. So you can see what we have here, right? We have a Chinese government that is not transparent at all. They're letting these people go out all over the world, okay? They're not helping. They're fucking everybody, okay? We have the World Health Organization saying, hey, China's great. We love China. No travel recommendations. Okay, so then we get thousands of people from the city of Wuhan traveling to North Italy for work. And it gets worse. After the residents got settled, some of the local lawmakers noticed Chinese immigrants weren't being totally accepted by native Italians. You're not being totally accepted. Boy, yeah, how dare you? I mean, I don't think I've ever gone to a country and lawmakers were concerned that I wasn't being totally accepted by the people that lived there. I don't think I need to be totally accepted. Like, don't spit on me when I walk by, okay? Don't close your shop when I'm walking up to the door, but I don't think I need to be totally accepted. So that's when the mayor of Florence decided we should have a Hug a Chinese Day. Hey man, great job, great idea. The mayor of Florence, Dario Nardella, initiated Hug a Chinese on Twitter on February 1st, opposing anger toward China amid the COVID-19 outbreak and calling for unity in this common battle. Many Italian citizens responded by posting photos of themselves with Chinese, hugging them. Well done. And how did that work out? How did that work out? Anybody? Ivan, do you know how that worked out for Northern Italy?
Not good.
No, not good. What was it? I think 40,000 people now have died in Italy.
Yeah.
Italy has something like 150,000 of the coronavirus, and the epicenter is in Northern Italy. Huh, what a coincidence. Wow, this stuff really makes you go, But hey, the experts, right? Politicians, we got to trust them. We got to do what they say, right? That's what everybody tells me. They tell me I'm an asshole if I'm not listening to them. Yeah, okay, man. I'll be the asshole that stays alive, all right? So let's get back, because again, sadly, there's more. Womp womp. You know what? I'm not even going to bother with this. Health experts now say masks are necessary. Okay. Oh, and our beloved Justin.
Our beloved boy Justin.
Our beloved Justin. On February 2nd, 2020, Justin came out and he said, he's warning against a rise of racism towards the Chinese community as the new coronavirus continues to worry some Canadians. And he said, let me be clear. There is no place in our country for discrimination driven by fear or misinformation. Well, I guess, to be fair, the discrimination was driven by accurate information. And how can you not be driven by misinformation? All the information we get is misinformation of some sort, right? This is not something Canadians will ever stand for. All right, so you guys that love Trudeau, think about that, right? For all the benefits he's giving out now, which isn't his money, by the way. He's not giving out his money. He's giving out money. He's either printing debt or he's giving out money from taxpayers, right? So let's also be clear about that. And yeah, once again, when this thing surfaced, ideology took the place of common sense, right? And you know what? Let's find something on Trump, just so you guys that I know Terry and a few other people just absolutely hate Trump. I don't particularly like him myself, but I know that Trump was dismissive of the virus. And with Trump, it's not hard to find statements that inflame people.
Pencil like Jesus, wish it go away.
Yeah, I mean, Trump came out with the disinfectant stuff. Hey, you know what? I mean, if you listen to somebody and you think it's okay to inject cleaning fluid into yourself, go ahead and do it, man. Okay, go ahead and do it. All right. I don't know. There's so much on Trump there. Where do you even really start? But whatever. I'll just go from memory. I know Trump actually was one of the few people that did restrict travel to China, but Trump also said that this was no big deal. This was nothing. And he's obviously since changed his tune. And it should be important to note that Trump has 7 hotels. So he was probably very opposed to having the economy shut down, right? Because I think we know Trump is about the dollars, right? So anyways, he's certainly not an expert. He certainly acts like a buffoon at times too. So lump him into that category as well. All right. So let's close off there. And I just want people to keep in mind that, you know what, because someone carries the badge or the qualification or the self-anointed title of expert, or because they're in a high political position, doesn't mean they actually are an expert, one. Doesn't mean they have your best interest in place, two. And it doesn't mean that they will use their best judgment in place of their own ideology, three. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, because this has been the tyranny of experts. We have to watch it. We all have to be on guard. That's it. So until next time, let's get your fist in there, Ivan. There we go. Until next time, for Ivan, I'm Rick Richards. Let's stick together and can't nobody stand against us.